How are you feeling? You got John Riggs today talking about isometric games for the NES. And why not? We're going to rank them along the way. And we're going to do something else with them along the way. Maybe you can pick up on it, but I'll let you know what that is at the end of the video. Giving games that isometric view kind of gave games that new look on life, I suppose. See, so many games were either side-scrolling platformers, maybe they're vertical shooters or vertical climbers or something, or even if they're overhead games that you can move whatever direction, just giving that games that weird angle just made it something kind of fresh. And there's a few of them on the NES. We're going to cover all of them. I think there's all of them. I might be missing one or two. If I am missing any of them, please call me out in the comments. First game we're going to talk about is the Immortal. Now, this is the game that uses that weird trick to make blacks blacker. In doing so, it would freak out a lot of CRTs. Now I'm playing this game on a flat screen, so it's not going to bother me here. But this game, man, it looked so good. The graphics were great, the animation was excellent, but you just moved so slow. One cool thing about this game was the deaths, because it just looked kind of cool every time that you would perish. Yeah, during the little booby traps and stuff like that, it made it kind of cool. I mean, not really cool that you're dying, but it actually gave it something else, just so it's like, oh, hey, that's interesting. I'm not used to seeing that on a Nintendo game. And even the one-on-one fights, I mean, I guess even those were a little isometric, I suppose, kind of. It just turned into like a slugfest for the most part, you know? Yeah, there's strategy involved, but sometimes you can just keep on whacking them and they'll die eventually. So even though I'm not a huge fan of this game as far as gameplay goes, the isometricness of this game, again, we're ranking games based on isometricity. Is that even a word? I'll put this one as a B. Here's a game that not a lot of people talk about, Isolated Warrior. Have you checked this one out yet? Now, the angle of this game and the viewpoint of this game remind me a lot of something like Zaxxon, or maybe even Viewpoint. I mean, it is kind of a shooter. You can jump, though. It's almost more like an auto-scrolling platformer. Well, you're not really platforming. It's just like an auto-scrolling run and gun, in a way. Well, you know, you run along and you blast the enemies and you pick up your power-ups. The graphics are okay. You can see, like, the decimated streets and all this. Gotta watch out for the holes in the ground and all that, too. Sure. This game even includes boss battles, which is kind of fun. Pretty challenging game, in my opinion. Has several levels in this game. It'll keep you playing for longer and keep you trying to get past that next level and all that. Kind of a decent game, really, but the level design, it's kind of the same every level. This could have been a vertical shooter. Cool, they turned it at an angle just to give you something different to look at every time. But at the end of the day, as far as being isometric, take it or leave it. As far as the isometricness of this game, I'll give it a D. I mean, if we're talking about isometric, we gotta talk about Q*bert, right? Now, Q*bert, one of the all-time classics. I love this game, even though I suck at it, which I guess could be said for most games. I'm nostalgic for this game, though. I mean, this game even had its own Saturday morning cartoon. I mean, come on. And the game was certainly different for its time, as a lot of times, arcade games like this were just, like puzzle games. You just, clear the level and move on to the next stage. I still see these blocks everywhere in life, and I always think of Q*bert. In fact, the other day, I was at Chewy's when I was at Retropalooza Houston, and this is what the floor looked like. I mean, come on, even looking at the floor, you can even just hear the sound effects, right? The NES port of Q*bert could have been better, but you know what? It's Q*bert. It plays like Q*bert. I mean, I played a ton of Q*bert on the Atari 2600, and I didn't complain about it. It's another one of those games where, man, I couldn't imagine Q*bert being literally anything else other than this exact shape and pattern. And they have had other Q*bert games in the past, and they hold up to like this, you know? I mean, honestly, Q*bert couldn't be anything else without this design. So with this game, I'm going to give it an A. Another game not a lot of people talk about, Zen Intergalactic Ninja. Now, before we get too deep into this game does feature side-scrolling action platform levels. So I'm going to get that out of the way, because this game is actually pretty cool. If you haven't checked it out yet, again, it's a late-released Konami game. Pretty cool game. But there are stages that give you that isometricness, a lot like Isolated Warrior. In fact, it's basically the same idea as Isolated Warrior, only in this case, you get to choose when the screen scrolls. You're not battling the auto-scrolling nature of the whole thing. And these stages, I think, are really fun, because they are just that kind of running platformy, attack enemies along the way. It gives you the beat-up mechanics, kind of like a Turtles 2, almost, where it's like, it's just like you run along, you beat people up for a while, you move to the next little area, you beat those people up for a while, watch out for the obstacles along the way as well. I mean, it's almost too bad that only a few sections of the game are like this. I mean, if I had to break down like the entire playthrough of the game, 35 I mean, maybe 40%, but about 35% of the game plays like this. The rest of it plays like that side-scrolling action platformy part. And I wish the entire game played like this. I think I would have liked it even more, but still a great game. And as far as the isometric goes, I mean, I wish it was more. I'll give it a C. All right, you talk about isometric NES games, you gotta talk about Solstice. You gotta talk about Solstice. I was almost addicted to this game when it first came out, because just the huge area that you could explore in. I mean, the graphics are cute. I mean, they're cute and cuddly the way they should be, I suppose. You never know what the next room is going to hold, what items might be in there, what enemies may be in there that you have to avoid. You know, some of the blocks disappear, some of the blocks reappear. You can also take little blocks with you to use to jump up to other parts of the game that you can't get to without one. You know, find keys to open up, new areas and all that too. Solstice, what a fun game. What a great game. And they have something kind of like this for a lot of systems. There's a Sylvester the Cat game of all games for the Game Boy. Equinox is a popular one for the Super Nintendo. And Solstice, it's one game I've never had a chance to beat. It's super fun. I really, really love it. And I couldn't imagine, again, another one of those games, I can't imagine this game being anything other than this angle. I think it's super fun, but I can't quite give it an S as much as I would love to, because sometimes, like Landstalker for the Sega Genesis, you don't know if like the next block that you need to jump to is like right next to you, or like to the left of you, or maybe a little bit behind you, or a little bit in front of you. There's no shadowing in this game. Especially like platforms that are like hovering. I wish I could see like a depth, like if it like had the shadow underneath it too, to let me know exactly where that block is. Then, man, I'd like it a lot more. But because of that, it's kind of hard to play this game sometimes, and you'll end up dying a lot. I will still give it an A. I'll still give it an A because you can kind of figure it out, but I just wish I had that shadowing. It'd make it that much better. It'd be a great hack, by the way, if somebody who's better than me at hacking games could add a shadow to those things. I don't think it's that easy, but just throwing it out there. Another all-time classic in Marble Madness. Now, this is going way back to when I used to play Marble Madness in the arcade, and then it came out for the NES. And I was like, well, how are you going to play it? You don't even have the trackball. At the arcade, you have the trackball that you can kind of, just spin the exactly direction you want to go. You can backspin to kind of slow yourself down quickly. And the NES D-pad actually doesn't work that bad. Now, I mostly played this game using my NES Advantage, which maybe helped or not, but still a little hard to play this game. But the design of this game, the look of this game, the uniqueness of this game, so many games, especially during the NES era, you played as a warrior or some kind of anthropomorphic creature or animal or something like that. This game you played as a marble. But they made it work. And another game kind of like the Immortal, where it was fun to see how you die. Not that it's fun to die, but sometimes the animations, like, when you shatter, the little sweep broom kind of dusts you up, or, like the acid dissolves you, or sometimes you just get, eaten by something else too. Fun game. And because of its momentum, gets pretty rough, especially in the later levels, especially that level like where you have to climb up the mountain. That's the one I could never get past. This game, fun game, and based on its isometricness, I'm giving it an S. It's perfect as far as I'm concerned. Rough to play as a game, but everything's set up just fine. This is another one of those NES games that, man, not a lot of people really talk about a lot, but boy, did I love this game. Snake, rattle, and roll, I'm telling you. 2 players simultaneous, and kind of a fun idea of a game. You're this kind of, this snake head, and the more you eat these little marble things is how you grow your tail, and once you weigh a certain amount, once you have so many sections of your tail, then you can step on the scale, and it'll open the door, and you can go on to the next stage. And just the fun and the creativity of the items, of the other enemies in this game. Every stage features a different kind of marble. Like sometimes they have legs and they run around. Sometimes they have springs and they bounce around. Sometimes they have wings and they float around or fly around or something like that. And there's usually a couple of, I guess, tail section depots in the game. So if you get a bunch of them, that also counts as your hit points too, by the way. So if you get hit, you'll lose one of your sections. So you want to make sure that you're at max capacity as much as you can in this game. But fun to see where you're going to go. Sometimes the jumping element is a little rough because you have to build up speed and then jump and then turn around in the corner and all that and land on very precise little squares of land, whether there's water around you, or if you miss it just right, or miss it just wrong in this case, you might fall or hit the spikes. Yeah, it's not fun. But this game is super fun. And again, another one of those games. Can't imagine this any other way. Snake, Rattle, and Roll. Love this game. Love the music to this game, too. Kind of has a classic feel to it, too, you know? Super fun game in the first place, I think. From Rare, by the way. I should also point out that Rare made this game. And because it's isometric, it just gave it that extra little bit of something new and something fresh. So this game, I'm giving it an S. Did I leave any off the list? Make sure you let me know in the comments below. I got some other videos that you should check out while you're here. Consider being a Patreon and check out more videos coming in the very near future. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you real soon.